the vibes, an action-packed night around the NBA, and you are locked into the Hoop Genius podcast presented by NBA 2K23. BJ Armstrong alongside me as always. BJ, it felt like I was watching NBA 2K23 last night with the amount of highlights that unfolded out there on the court. 12 games. We're going to whiz around the association real quick to catch everyone up.
I got a quick question.
Games. But go ahead.
I got a quick question. Do you have a robe on right now?
Yes, I do. I do. You guys can't see me, but I'm flexing in my robe. It's 6 a.m. It's 6 a.m. You see the dark circles under my eyes. I'm comfortable. Okay. Did you see James Harden turn up to the arena yesterday in like his pajamas? That's how I'm living now. It's cold and it's late, or it's early,
okay. I had to get real close to the camera here. I'm like, what is this? The Playboy channel? What is this? Hey. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm in my robe. I've got to be comfortable. You guys should know this by now. But okay. Let's get right into it, BJ. Because the first game of the night was your Detroit Pistons going up against the Orlando Magic. And as much as you love Detroit, I know you must have been happy watching Orlando Magic, because there was one point where they put out a lineup of Caleb Houston, Bol, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., and they had Franz Wagner running the point, meaning the shortest player on the court for them was Caleb Houston at just 6'8". So we get one step closer to your dream of all 7-footers.
I love it. I when I saw Mo Bamba and Bol on the court together, I got so excited. This, by the way, Bol, whenever he steps on the court, I just find myself watching him. Mm-hmm. The way he moves. I mean, he's crossing over a guy at like 7. How tall is Bol? 7'2", 7'3"?
Yeah, he's giant.
And he's crossing over people. And I'm like, why? Just shoot over the top of him. But I do love it when they put all those 7-footers on the floor.
Well, they loved it too. To start the game, they were up big. Then Detroit came back. But before we talk about Detroit, shout out to Paolo Banchero, becoming the first number 1 overall pick to record over 20 points, over 5 rebounds, and over 5 assists in his NBA debut since LeBron James. The only players to do that, LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So shout out to Paolo. He looks like he's going to be a star in the NBA. But the Detroit Pistons, how about this kid coming off the bench, Jalen Duren, 18 years old, blocks the shot or grabs the rebound at one end, passes the outlet, sprints up the court, gets it back and throws down a poster. Welcome to the league, young man. I don't think it's going to be long before he's their starting center. He absolutely impressed. Kate Cunningham, 18 and 10. Very impressive. Jaden Ivey getting out there in transition and just turning on those afterburners with his pace. Very impressive. And 24 for Bogdanovic, trading for the veteran, dropped 60 pointers, paid off. But BJ, how'd you feel about your Pistons after game number 1?
Great job. I was just happy to see that they got out and played and they were aggressive. I didn't always understand what they were trying to do, talking about the Pistons in the preseason. However, they really turned it on, play well, slow start. But I like what I saw from Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham. I really like the guards. It's something I learned about Cade. Cade is not afraid of the moment.
No.
He makes plays. He makes plays. And I really like what he was doing off the dribble, creating baskets and creating opportunities for himself and others. Big time shot by Bistu at the end of that game to really seal the victory with a 3-point shot from the corner. You can tell he's been working to extend his game further away. And Ivy was terrific. I mean, athletically, you can see, who he's going to be as a player. I mean, this kid is a terrific athlete. But the most impressive to me was the kid, Duren. I mean, Duren, you said he's a center. I would venture to say he's going to be a premier power forward in this league. He reminds me of a young Chris Webber, at the same age. I mean, the kid is only like 18 years old. He still should be in high school, for crying out loud, but he's in the NBA. And in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be something because of his athleticism, phenomenal hands. He catches everything clean around the basket, and he can finish over the top of you with the best. So, the future is looking bright for these Pistons. And it was a nice win against a really talented Orlando team. I mean, they got a lot of young talent. This kid Paulo came out in the first half. I mean, he was wow. I mean, he caught somebody down there and dunked on somebody. I don't know who it was, but he caught somebody today. Had a couple of plays that you go, it's
I think
really
it was
interesting.
Corey Joseph. He absolutely
he caught. I mean, he
poster.
caught someone. I'm gonna tell you something. What's interesting about Paulo? He has an NBA body right now. Normally you say guys got to grow into their body. Like we're talking about Duran. You're talking about other young players. Well, let me tell you something. Paulo is every bit 250 right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man. He has a man's body right now. He's strong, very skilled, has a game, and it was a big time performance here versus my Detroit Pistons.
Well, there were a lot of other games going on. The Wizards and the Pacers went up against each other. Before the game began, Miles Turner tweaked his ankle in the pregame warmups.
Oh, wow.
That's either tanking for Wembanyama or let's get the Lakers back on the phone and see if we can get a nice trade and take some of their draft picks. That's what I thought of that. But shout out to the Wizards. They took the win. Kuzma, 22-13. He's going to have a decent season. Bradley Beal handling business. Not too much to say about that. What do you think of the Hawks and the Rockets? The new look Hawks backcourt, DeJounte and Trey.
I'm gonna watch the Hawks. Murray has really done a really nice job on the defensive end, and that's I've watched them. They had some nice wins in the preseason. And when I say some nice wins, like they played well. They didn't just shoot the ball well. They played well. And this kid, Murray, I'm going to watch them. He really guards the other team's best offensive player, whether it's the point guard position or the off guard position because of his size and athletic ability. So I'm going to watch that kind of closely. I like the Hawks. Nice win, versus the Hawks versus they played the Rockets, right? They played the Rockets at home, and we'll see.
The Hawks had 4 starters who scored over 20 points. Shout out to them. What I'm watching for the Hawks is if and when they trade Clint Capella. He had 2 points, 8 rebounds in the starting lineup, but Okongwu came off the bench, played the same amount of minutes, had 13 and 9, and he looks to be the future for them at that center position. But then my favorite game of the night, the Pelicans versus the Brooklyn Nets. That was my favorite game. Zion Williamson returned straight away, crushing on the offensive board, getting to the rack, scoring. Herb Jones on the defensive end, blocking a corner 3 from KD. Brandon Ingram doing his thing as well. Ben Simmons fouling out real quick, just like you were talking about earlier on. But it's kind of crazy, okay? This was Zion's first game in 533 days, and it was Ben Simmons' first game in 523 days, both of whom former number 1 picks. So something to be said about staying healthy in the NBA. What stood out to you in this one, B?
Well, what stood out in watching this game, because it was kind of over early, was the New Orleans Pelicans, ladies and gentlemen, they're for real. They are for real. Okay, this kid, Brandon Ingram, he's a superstar. He's a big-time player. And when I say big time, he's capable of taking over a game down the stretch in the last 4 minutes of a game. He's that good. They have stability now with CJ McCullough at the guard position. And this kid, Zion, he's the wild card. And the reason he's the wild card is because they have you can argue that they may have the best starting 5 in the entire NBA.
Well, I feel real good about picking them as a top 3 team in the West in our predictions episode to win the West.
Okay.
Especially after seeing that.
They have 4 guys in their starting lineup that can get you 25 or 30. Because Valanciunas is a capable scorer. We know Zion, we know Brandon Ingram, we know CJ McCullough. This team now is for real. Okay. They did this on the road, by the way.
Trey Murphy and Alvarado are nice off the bench too.
I like this team.
Devontae Graham.
I watch Zion. Zion he looks very, he looks like something has been lifted off his shoulders. And I know he's lost a little weight. I know he's in much better shape, but he seems to be playing with a joy about him that I haven't seen in quite some time. And maybe, he's just found his rhythm. But certainly when you watch how he has responded in the preseason, carried it over to, now the regular season, they are really, really good. They are a top team in the West. I think this team is to be taken seriously. And, my guy, Willie Green, is over there, Coach Green. And I really like what I'm seeing. I know it's early, but I like this group. I really like this group. And I like the fact that they got some players that are very capable. Okay.
We're going to talk about them all season long because I think they're dangerous out there in the West. What's happening over in the East with Miami, though? They took the loss to the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Without Zach LaVine and without Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan came in and gave them 37 points with 9 assists, which I thought was kind of crazy. But I don't know what happened to the Miami Heat, who are 1 game away from the NBA Finals. They did not look like themselves. I mean, we know they didn't have a great offseason, didn't really add anyone.
The Heat, I don't know what the Heat, it's just here. But I want to say this. What's going on with Zach LaVine?
Injured. He signed that max contract extension this summer, but health has not been kind to him throughout his career. And it was his knee once again. That knee, is it the same one that he had the ACL tear on? Kind of after shoot around on Wednesday, he said he's going to have to do load management for that knee of his.
Okay. Okay. Well, I hope he gets back. I mean, very unfortunate. That's not good. When anytime it's first game of the season, and it's unfortunate for the Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel really bad for Lonzo. I saw this interview with him the other day where he's like, he can't even walk around in day-to-day life without being in pain. I don't know when he's going to be back, if he's going to be back or any of that. But fingers crossed he gets back healthy as well. I'm going to be keeping an eye on what happens with the Miami Heat this season because they might need to make some upgrades. But the Cavs and the Raptors were locked into a close one, with the Raptors sneaking out with a 3-point win. What took your eye? Donovan Mitchell dropped 31 in his debut as a Cavaliers player. He looked real comfortable in that jersey. He looks real good out there.
Yeah, well, the Garland kid got hurt, so I'm not gonna. When Garland got hurt, and I think he got poked in the eye or something, and had to leave the game. And so that to me is what stood out. Yeah, I like this Cleveland team.
Rubio, the backup point guard, wasn't playing through injury or illness or whatever. But the Raptors.
But I like this Cleveland team. Yeah, Raptors. I feel like the Raptors are going to do what the Raptors do. They have length, they have size, they come at you in waves. They just kind of play with all these, same size athletes, and they got a nice win here. However, Donovan Mitchell and Garland, I kind of like it. I mean, I know it's early, but it looked like they found space for one another. And, they are small, but I think both of those guys are all-star caliber players, and I'm happy to see Donovan Mitchell get off to an early start. That was a big trade for him because he kind of all summer he didn't know where he was going to go, and he landed in a really good place. I mean, that's a good place for him, Cleveland, and they almost came out with a nice win here tonight.
The other day when we talked about MVP conversation, there was one name we forgot to mention. Moran is going to be steadily making his case as must-see TV. He had 34, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, and he had that crazy behind-the-back no-look assist in transition. He had a crazy chase-down block. But the Grizzlies got taken to overtime by the New York Knicks. I want to shout out to Jalen Brunson. He took a charge to send the game to overtime, which was a huge play, especially in your debut with the Knicks organization. That was big from him. But what do you think of that game? What stood out to you in that with the Grizzlies taking a win in OT?
Well, I think you're right. You know, John Morant was the difference in the game. And I watched this game closely because I just kind of wanted, to see, what the Knicks have. I didn't pay much attention to them during the preseason. I wanted to kind of see them, and they were playing. So I watched the game. They played hard. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well. But I'm going to tell you, this kid, Cam Reddish, he may be the best talent on the team. Came off the bench. I think he had about 20-something.
22 off the bench.
20, yeah. Came off the bench, played very well. I mean, he's an NBA athlete. I mean, he's that guy every team is looking for. 6'7", 6'8", run, jump, has a nice looking three ball, played very well. He played exceptionally well here this evening. So that really stood out to me. But the Knicks, they play hard. But you know what, John Morant, there was no one on the floor that could reach or match John Morant's energy. I mean, he was just all over the place. I mean, you said that was a charge. And when you look at the highlight, that was the most exciting charge I've ever seen. That was he finished that play, and that could have easily been an N1. But you know what? John Moran is a special talent. He's a special athlete. And you know what? You have to really defend him as a group. There's no one that can stay in front of this young man. He's exciting. And, I was talking to someone down there in Memphis, and they was like, they're all mad at Ja. They said he's making the tickets, too expensive down there to go to the games. They said this guy is just, I mean, they got a packed house down there. They love him. He is must-see TV, and he's just so fearless the way he attacks the basket. And he's an exciting player. If you have one game to watch and you only have one game, you know what? You can't go wrong by watching John Moran.
Most definitely. But talk to me about the Timberwolves.
I love the big fella, Rudy Gobert. What a debut up there in Minnesota. And like I said, I have my concerns with this big lineup. Karl Towns didn't play particularly well. I think it was only like 2 for 10 from the field. But Rudy Gobert, what he had, 2015 or something like that. And so I like Rudy. I think he will give them an identity, especially on the defensive end. And it's going to take some time for the guards and the rest of the team to figure out how to play with Rudy, because Rudy is a big. He's a true big. But I like them. Nice win. Wasn't an impressive win because you're saying that they only played Oklahoma. However, they got the win. So, you'll take it. Wins are hard to come by in the NBA.
Well, I want to shout out to the Oklahoma because they get a bad rap. Even here on this show, they get a bad rap for their tanking.
A bad rap for what?
For their
what
tanking.
do they get a bad rap for? What's a bad rap?
As I'm not a fan of this rebuild, et cetera, et cetera. But here's an interesting stat that I saw from Joe Masato. He said, here's a crazy stat for perspective. As the Thunder enter their third season of rebuilding, they could go 0-82 this season and still finish with a better 3-year winning percentage than the Philadelphia 76ers did between 2013 and 2016. Like, that's how bad the Philly tank was. And so shout out to OKC.
And now they have one of the best teams in the league.
Well,
so
Philly.
Maybe Philly. Maybe Philly knows something. Yeah, maybe
OKC won't draft players that are a little bit unique, like Ben Simmons, shall we say. Unique. But for the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards struggled a little bit, 4-17, Cat 2-10. Rudy Gobert came and saved the day, 23, 16 boards, fair play to him. I asked you yesterday, what if he starts finally getting the ball passed to him in his
How many blocks did he have? How many blocks did he have today?
How many blocks did Rudy have? Let me have a look right now. He only had one. I was thinking it wasn't that memorable in terms of the defensive side. The Hornets beat the San Antonio Spurs 129-102. The race for Wembanyama, I guess. Shout out to the Spurs for winning that one. Jeremy Sohan made his NBA debut, repping for the UK. Shout out to him. But here's one that I really, really don't get. The Nuggets lost against the Utah Jazz. This is a Denver Nuggets team that's like, okay, cool. We're healthy now. We're a contender now, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go and lose to possibly the worst team in the NBA. Explain that one to me, BJ. I don't understand it.
This is the NBA. This is why you play, Mo. This is why you play. This is when you play in that league and everyone's looking at stats and numbers and they are the worst team in the league. No, they're not the worst team. It's a lot of basketball to be played. We think they're going to be the worst team, but those are NBA players over there, really good NBA players over there. This kid, Colin Sexton, they have some good players over there. Okay, Rudy Gay, they have really good players, and we may look at them and go, well, they don't have a star, they don't have the big name guy, but you know what? In this league, if you show up and you play hard, you're going to win your fair share of games. I don't care who you are, just because of the scheduling. Well, and right now, that's a bad loss for Denver. Why? Because we're expecting Denver to be one of the elite teams. However, it's early. And you know what? Denver is going to struggle with this all year long. They're going to struggle against screen roll. Okay? And Jamal Murray, while he may be good on the offensive end because he's that elite of an offensive player, what we know when players come back from an ACL injury is it's going to take them 2 years of playing before they get their legs back under them on the defensive end because they have to react and do all those things. So defensively, if you put Jamal Murray and Jokic in the screen roll, you're going to get a good shot. Mm-hmm. They're going to struggle. Now, I did not watch that game closely, but I'm willing to bet that probably Sexton or Conley or somebody of a combination had a good game. Why? Because, and what's the kid they just got from Cleveland? The kid that can shoot from Sweden. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, those guys are going to play. Those guys are going to always give them problems because you're going to put Colin Sexton in the screen roll. You're going to put Conley. You're going to put sixth man of the year over there in screen roll.
Jordan Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson. I'm drawing a blank right here, right now. Mm-hmm. You got to put these guys in screen roll against Jokic, and then that's going to be a problem for them.
They had a bunch of guys. Colin Sexton had 20, Beasley had 15, Rudy Gay had 16, Clarkson had 10, Markman had 17. Like, it was a well-rounded night. Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
I listened to Zach Lowe. He said, you'd rather face these teams that are kind of tanking, like a little bit further down the line in the season when they've been a little bit beaten down, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the start of the season, they're all hyped up to go out there, get wins. And you really saw that tonight because here's the thing. With so much talent in the NBA now, so many talented teams, and there's only 6 playoff spots now instead of 8 because then you're going to be in the play-in. Losing games like this might be the difference between you finishing in 6th place and getting into the playoffs guaranteed, or 7th place and being in the play-in where anything can happen. They may live to come and regret this one day. So that's interesting. One of the matchups of the night, though, the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns went down to the wire. I was expecting Luka Doncic to deliver us another game winner, but he didn't. And it was instead Damian Lee being the hero, even stepping in. Chris Paul got benched down the stretch. Something really crazy. The first half, Dallas were up 62-45. And you thought this is just going to be like game 7. They're picking up where they left off. But the second half, Phoenix won 62-43. And that turned out to be the difference in the game. Despite Christian Wood scoring 16 straight points, looking right at home with the Dallas Mavericks, there were a few questionable decisions from the Mavericks towards the end of the game, and they threw that lead away. And Phoenix came out with a win. Peter, what do you make of that?
Well, whenever you get up big, it always reminds me. I can still hear this coach telling me, when you get up big in the first quarter, you really have to play the game with a certain amount of discipline. And the discipline is, and you've heard me say this, Mo, the score is always 0-0. Mm-hmm. Because the NBA game is such a long game. When you get up by a lot early, you really have to erase that thought like, okay, I'm up 18 or 19. Because, Mo, as you're watching the game now, today, being up 17, 18, 20 points today isn't the same as it was in the 90s or the early 2000s. Yeah, because of three-point shooting.
There's more points being scored. They're playing at a higher pace. Yes. There's more variability in the scores. So, Yeah.
So when you say they came back, I'm going, okay, that's basically 5 or 6 shots today. That's 5 or 6 shots the way they play today. And 5 or 6 shots, you're back in the game. That's a 15, 18-point swing. So 48 minutes is a long time. Hopefully Dallas learns that. You get up early, but you got to knock a team out.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to get them out to where the coach is saying, get the starters off because I'm moving to the next game. But they hung around. Give Phoenix credit. They hung around. Dallas didn't take this team out. But there were stretches where Dallas looked pretty good. I was kind of impressed. I thought of you during this game because I was thinking to myself, we're talking about who we think is going to win the 6th man of the year. Christian Wood looked like he's going to be
that was the
player
pick that we said on the show.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be a player that they're going to rely on him, or that's his role is to come in and score.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like that's his role. Like your job is to figure out how to get 20 points on the second unit along with Luka Doncic.
And it was interesting though, down the stretch, they benched him for Maxi Kleber despite him being on fire because they wanted to do the offense defense kind of thing. Because Christian Wood, as great as he is scoring the basketball, defensively is lacking. But do you think that they should have stuck with the hot hand being out there?
Well, this is to me has been, you've heard me say this. There's on one hand, if you watch the game tonight and you watch the highlights, this kid Luka Doncic made some moves and some plays that were just like, wow, eye-opening. Like you go, man, this guy, he's up and under his footwork, and all those things. However, I will contend you can't win like that. You can't win with just giving him the ball and allowing him to play like that. So if there's anything that I saw with this team, I'm going to say this. You have to have a blended brand of basketball because Luka Doncic is the real deal. Utilize his skill set when need. When you need it, you go to him and you let him isolate. He breaks the ice. He does the other things. Other than that, you're going to have to figure out how to play ball movement, player movement, because when you have wins like this, a lot of times that's because the ball becomes stagnant. That may work against the bad teams in the league, but as you start playing against better teams, okay, the last guy we've seen do this brand of basketball where you have an isolation basketball is James Harden. It just doesn't work as you advance. And Luka is that good. However, I would love to see more sets in their half-court offense where they utilize players and allow Luka to kind of play within whatever system they figure out is best for the team. But because Luka is the real deal. I mean, Luka, he's so good, you could give him the ball every single time because he makes the right play. I mean, the guy just makes the right play. But I want to see more team, movement. I want to see how you can put Luka's talent and incorporate it into a team aspect. And I think that will benefit the team and Luka because, look, offensively, he may be the best perimeter offensive player right now in the game. He may be. He's that. Make no doubt about it.
Well, there was one more game. The Kings and the Blazers went head to head.
Yes.
The rookie Shadon Sharp looks really nice for the Portland Trail Blazers who took the win. Do you know who really impressed me in this game? It wasn't Dame Lillard who had 20 points. It was Josh Hart and Jeremy Grant. They really impressed me, doing a lot of the day work, getting it together, making timely plays on the offense side of the ball. It was a very tough night for the Kings. Kevin Huerter, at one point, he was 6 from 7 from behind the arc. De'Aaron Fox had 33, 7 and 7. And there was a play towards the end where Kevin Huerter, he took a corner 3 and his foot was just on the line. So it went from a 3 to a 2. And that was kind of a crucial play down the end of the game. And obviously Sacramento fans were unhappy about that. But here's my thing. You were talking about De'Aaron Fox being a player you're looking out for this season and how much speed and quickness he has. Sometimes I feel like he has too much speed and quickness for his own good. Because with a minute left in this game, it was anyone's game for the win. And he just got called for the offensive foul. He was just moving so quickly They was kind of a little bit out of control. And then on the other end, Sabonis plays quite slowly, and every time he was catching the ball, credit to Chauncey Billups and Portland for doing a great job defensively of really slowing down his effectiveness. So Portland impressed me. I thought the Kings would say that. Portland really impressed me in that game. What do you think about them?
About which one? Portland?
The Portland Trailblazers, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. You know, I'm happy to see Dame back on the floor, and you know, Grant. You know, Jeremy's going to be a good player for them. Josh Hart. Yeah, I like them. But more importantly, you know, as Dame goes, they are going to go. Mm-hmm. And Chauncey Billups, like, it's been a tough go for them because of Dame's injury, and they've traded all their players. However, you know, it's a really nice win. You know, I'm picking Sacramento this year, the team getting the playoffs. So that was a good win for the Portland Trailblazers here tonight. And, you know, it's good to have, you know, star players back on the floor. There's a lot of star players and key guys back in action who've sat out a lot of games from a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was 12 exciting games. There were so many highlights. But we've got to move forwards because tonight, there are only 2 games on a Thursday night, but they are Clippers. 2 exciting matchups. You're right there, BJ. We've got the Clippers and the Lakers Battle of LA, but before that, we've got the Bucks and the Sixers. The Sixers obviously coming off a loss against the world-famous Boston Celtics, and the Bucks making their season debut. Embiid versus Giannis, 2 players that are always in the MVP race, 2 of the best players in the league, 2 elite 7-footers. Who you got taking that one? Remember, there's no Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Philly. I'm gonna go with Philly just because I think they have. I think Philly understands the task at hand this year. You know, I was kind of impressed with James Harden. Mm-hmm. I was a little.
Looks much better
impressive.
Shape.
He look. You know what? No, it's not even the better shape. You know what I saw from James Harden that I haven't seen in like 2 or 3 years? He actually went by somebody.
Yeah, because his hamstrings are working now. He finally got healthy in the summer. You know, he didn't have that same burst. You know, we talked about this yesterday. He didn't have that same burst from last year.
Yeah, you know, he went by a couple of people, and I think that even surprised the defense. They were like, "Oh, I didn't know he could still do that." But I think when it's all said and done, I think this Philadelphia 76ers team, they're deep. I think they're going to hit their rhythm. And I don't know what's going on with Chris Middleton right now. He seems like, I don't know if his body or what's going on, but he seems to.
Yeah, he's been
since last season. Yeah, something's going on here. I don't know here, but I'm going to say Philadelphia. But you know what? I just want to tune in to watch Giannis because I love to see greatness. So you're going to see 2 great players in Giannis and Joel, obviously. And I think it should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't see the Sixers starting the season 0-2. And then the Lakers couldn't very well start the season 0-2 as they host the Clippers. What are you keeping an eye out for in this one from the Clippers? We don't want to talk about the Lakers anymore. What do you think about the Clippers? Because right now for the injury report, the only player on the injury report for them is Reggie Jackson. So, you know, they look like they're going to have Paul George.
I see the Clippers are just going to I think the Clippers are just going to overwhelm them. I mean, the Clippers are deep. They're athletic. You know, Kawhi's back. Paul George is back. John Wall looks terrific. You know, they're not going to miss a beat. And Reggie Jackson is a really good player. You know, he won't play tomorrow night, but they just have Batum, Morris, Zubac. I mean, they just have players. So I think that they're just going to overwhelm them. However, we have to play the game. It will be interesting to see Pat Bev's response. Okay, being on the other side now. And now that he is a Laker. But, you know, I saw the Lakers play in game 1. I just don't like – I just don't think the way this team is currently constructed. I know that we keep talking about championships and that's the talk. I don't see it. And I don't see it.
Well, for the Lakers.
For the Lakers.
Oh, we got to talk about making a playing game first before we talk about championship.
I just don't see it. You know, that's the talk here, the Lakers. But I think the Clippers, I'm excited to see the Clippers. After seeing Golden State, you got to go, wow, Golden State looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see the Clippers now, see how they look, because Golden State right now, I think they are a team that people are, you got to look at them and go, man, they look better than last year. I think they are better than last year. I don't think they look better. They are better than they were a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Lakers, though, they somehow looked worse. They've got LeBron and AD on a game time decision, so who knows if they'll actually play tomorrow? Maybe they want to save themselves.
What do you mean? What do you mean the game time decision?
Well, the injury report that I've got says injury report for the Clippers, Reggie Jackson, and then for the Lakers, Troy Brown Jr. is out, Thomas Bryant is out, Dennis Schroeder is out, Anthony Davis game time decision, LeBron James game time decision. I don't know what their injuries are. Maybe they just don't want to lose again. Who knows? Stay tuned to find out. We'll be back tomorrow morning breaking it all down for you. As this has been another week of the Hoop Genius podcast. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be right here tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. BJ, it feels amazing to have basketball back. I know you're just as hyped as I am. And I know how excited you are tonight to see the Clippers play the Lakers on national television. So enjoy that one. It's going to be fun. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, what a night. You guys, if you enjoy the show, show some love, review, ratings, all that good stuff. And go check out the highlights from today because there were some crazy, crazy plays. Until next time, get buckets.